Anything is possible. It just has to be done. Before we measure the world, we measure what moved inside us. This is the inner measure with Reasonaut X, short talks where music, thought, and life meet in the same room. Take the measure inward, then carry it outward. Resonate, elevate, demonstrate. Visit Reasonaut X on Facebook for conscious music, new thoughts, and conversations that keep the signal moving. I was sitting here working on a song, thinking about a friend of mine, and I started noticing the difference between the way he sees possibility and the way I see it. Not better, not worse, different. When he looks at something, he usually sees what is there, what it is currently doing, what it was made to do. A table is a table. A job is a job. A tool is a tool. The world is what it appears to be right now. But when I look at the same thing, my mind does not stop at what it is. It starts asking what else it could become. A table could become shelter. A broken machine could become parts for another machine. A failed idea could become the foundation of a better one. A limitation could become the very pressure that forces invention. And while I was thinking about that difference, this sentence came to me. Anything is possible. It just has to be done. Not wished for. Not spoken into the air and abandoned. Not placed on a vision board while somebody waits for the universe to complete the paperwork. Done. Built. Tested. Failed. Reworked. Carried forward. Anything is possible. It just has to be done. I think that is where people often misunderstand possibility. They hear the word possible, and they think it means easy. They think it means guaranteed. They think it means believing hard enough will somehow remove the labor. But possibility is not a promise that something will happen. Possibility means the door has not been proven permanently closed. Sometimes even the things we once proved impossible became possible when the machine changed, when the knowledge changed, when the material changed, when the technology changed, when the question changed. Human beings once stood beneath the sky and looked at birds as though flight belonged to another species. Then somebody refused to accept that the present limitation was the final definition. We once treated distance like a wall. Now a voice can cross the planet before the speaker finishes the sentence. We once stored knowledge in rooms, then we stored it in machines. Now we reach into what feels like nowhere and retrieve information from almost anywhere. The machinery still exists. The servers still exist. The wires, signals, energy, and systems all exist somewhere. But from the human experience, knowledge has begun to feel placeless. It can travel without traveling. It can appear without being carried in the old way. It can be copied, linked, translated, reorganized, and brought forward faster than any physical library could once move. And that is not the end. That is another branch. Every invention creates the conditions for inventions that could not have existed before it. The wheel does not remain only a wheel. It becomes gears, axles, engines, conveyors, turbines, and machines inside machines. One solved problem becomes the doorway to 10 new possibilities. That is why I do not believe we are approaching the end of ideas. I believe we are standing inside an expanding field. Every answer gives birth to another question. Every technology creates another use. Every new ability changes what the next generation will consider ordinary. Possibility does not shrink as we discover more. It expands. But there is another side to this, because not everybody experiences possibility that way. Some people look at the world and see options. Other people look at the world and see risk. Some see the unused door. Others see the danger behind it. Some see the table becoming shelter. Others see a perfectly good table being destroyed. And that difference may not come from intelligence. It may come from survival. When a person has lived close to survival, the imagination often becomes practical. What keeps me safe? What keeps me fed? What keeps the lights on? What prevents another loss? Survival does not always ask what something could become. Survival asks whether the thing in front of us works right now. And that makes sense. When you are drowning, you do not critique the design of the boat. You grab whatever floats. But there comes a point when survival can become a cage long after the immediate danger has passed. The body may be safe, while the mind continues guarding the walls. The opportunity arrives, but fear still calls it a threat. The new path opens, but the old pain says, do not move. The possibility appears, but the survival mind asks, what if it changes everything? And the honest answer is, it might. That is what possibility does. Possibility changes the shape of what existed before it. That is why fear of change is rarely just fear of something new. It is often grief for the identity that may not survive the transformation. A new idea can threaten an old role. A new truth can threaten an old belief. A new ability can threaten an old excuse. A new opportunity can threaten the comfort of saying there was never another option. Possibility asks something from us. It asks us to release the version of ourselves that could only exist inside the limitation. And this is where the inner measure comes in. I cannot spend my life judging people because they do not see what I see. A cat is a cat. A dog is a dog. I am not going to become angry with the cat because it refuses to bark. I cannot demand that another person's mind process the world exactly as mine does. We are not superior to one another. We are human beings living through different machinery, different histories, different sensitivities, different fears, different capacities, different patterns of attention. The same human value does not require identical human function. We are all human, but we are not all built to notice the same thing at the same time. Once I recognize that difference, I become responsible for how I move with it. Not responsible for forcing people to change, not responsible for dragging them into a future they have not chosen, not responsible for proving my imagination is greater than theirs. I become responsible for understanding what I am asking of them. I become responsible for knowing when I am inviting someone into possibility and when I am demanding that they abandon the structure that has kept them alive. That does not mean I have to shrink what I see. It means I have to stop expecting every person to see it from the same angle. My friend may look at a table and see a place to sit, eat, laugh, drink a beer, watch football, and live inside the moment. I may look at the same table and see lumber, shelter, leverage, structure, design, or the beginning of something that does not exist yet. That does not make me more human. It means my machine processes possibility differently. His world may be grounded in what is already present. Mine keeps branching toward what could be. And sometimes, living that way can feel like standing inside constellations. One idea connects to another. One technology opens another field. One thought forms a structure around the next thought. It is almost like a heads-up display appearing around the world. Not with bright colors or literal screens, but with relationships, pressures, roots, patterns, and possible movements. You do not only see the object, you feel the field around it. You feel how one thing may connect to another thing that has not happened yet. You feel where an idea might move before anybody else believes it can move. And that can be difficult to explain to someone whose mind is focused almost entirely on what is directly in front of them. But seeing possibility also creates another responsibility. I still have to measure it, because seeing possibility does not automatically make every idea wise. An open mind without measure can chase fantasy. A fearful mind can reject every future. Both can become trapped. One becomes trapped by believing nothing can change. The other becomes trapped by believing every imagined thing deserves to exist. The measure cannot only be, can this be done? The deeper measure must also ask, should it be done? What will it produce? Who will carry the cost? Does it create freedom or merely another form of dependence? Does it expand human possibility or shrink human responsibility? Because the future is not built only by what we are capable of creating. It is also built by what we are willing to become responsible for after we create it. AI is here. Technology is moving. Knowledge is spreading beyond the old boundaries. Fear will not stop that movement. It may influence it. It may delay it. It may distort it. But fear has never permanently returned humanity to an earlier stage. Once we discover fire, we do not undiscover it. Once we build the wheel, we do not return to carrying the whole world on our backs. Once knowledge learns how to travel, it will not willingly remain in one room. So the question is no longer whether change is coming. The question is whether we will meet it consciously. Will we remain trapped in survival, protecting only what was? Or will we begin participating in what could be? Anything is possible. It just has to be done. But before it is done, it has to be imagined. Before it is imagined, somebody has to believe the present form is not the final form. And before that belief can become movement, we have to survive our fear of becoming something new. That may be the real boundary. Not technology, not resources, not intelligence. Fear. Fear that the table might stop being a table. Fear that the world might become larger than the language we were given for it. Fear that the identity we have protected for years may only have been the seed. Seeds are safe beneath the ground, but they cannot remain seeds forever. At some point, the shell has to break. The roots have to move into darkness. The stem has to press toward a light it has never touched. That is not failure. That is not destruction. That is what growth feels like from inside the seed. Survival teaches us how to protect the seed. Possibility teaches us why the seed was protected in the first place. Not so it could remain buried forever. So it could become the tree. And when the tree begins to grow, it branches. Those branches move into our thoughts, our choices, our relationships, our beliefs, our work, our appetites, and the ways we participate in the world. Every branch eventually produces something. That is where the fruit appears. And that may be the measure we need to carry forward. Not whether we were afraid of change. Most people are. Not whether we understood every possibility before moving. We never will. The measure is whether fear became our permanent definition. Did we protect the seed so carefully that we never allowed it to grow? Did we keep calling the shell safety after it became a prison? Did we keep waiting to see the whole tree before allowing the first root to move? Believing without seeing does not mean pretending the tree already exists. It means understanding what the seed is capable of becoming, then accepting the work required to bring it forward. Anything is possible. It just has to be done. Take the measure inward, then carry it outward. Resonate, elevate, demonstrate. This is Reasonaut X. Visit Reasonaut X on Facebook for conscious music and thoughts. And let the measure travel.